Hello, hello. Very good morning to all the students and fellow science enthusiasts. A very warm welcome to the 13th Foundation Day celebration of National Institute of Animal Biotechnology. Yesterday evening, we were delighted by the cultural events that showcased the incredible talent and spirit of NIV community. Today, we gather for a more reflective and insightful session as we dwell into the sense of what makes our institute truly special. Foundation Day is not just about commemorating the past, it's about celebrating the journey that brought us here and envisioning the future we aspire to create. It's a day to honor the visionaries who laid the cornerstones of this institution and to recognize the ongoing contributions of every member of our NIFB family. To commence our celebration, let us uphold the revered tradition of lamp lighting. This ceremony symbolizes the eradication of ignorance and the welcoming of knowledge and enlightenment. I now invite our distinguished guest to step forward and illuminate the lamp. Please. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, sir. It gives me great pleasure to invite our senior manager, Mr. Harjeet Singh, to the stage to deliver the welcome address. Mr. Singh has been an integral part of our team, providing unwavering support. Please join me in welcoming him.
Good morning, everyone. First of all, I would like to congratulate all of you on this 13th Foundation Day of the Institute. And as Dr. Yash told, basically Foundation Day is the time when we can look behind and we can look forward also. So while welcoming our esteemed guest here, so I just would like to brief you about the past, and I left the future vision for Madam's mistake. So, as you all of know, NIAB as a society was registered on 25th May 2011. We started our journey from University of Hyderabad. So the first lot of employees, including few scientists and other administrative technical staff, we joined in 2012. And we got this 100-acre of land in 2012 itself. Then we established our interim labs at a higher place in Miapur. And we moved there on 2nd September 2013. So then we started the work for development of this campus. And today I would like to thank all employees who contributed, and today we are here at this stage. So 2018, 11th August, we moved into this campus. So while we were working on development of campus and all those initial things, our scientific colleagues, they started working very hard from the interim lab itself, which we have continued from this place also. And I'm very happy that Director Madam will be happy to showcase all those research, whatever we have achieved during these 12 years. So today, when we are entering into 13 years, it gives me pleasure to welcome, we have very esteemed guest here who is full of knowledge. Maybe Dr. Yash or someone else will brief about this sir's achievement. But I am welcoming our esteemed guest, Director Madam, and all of you for this foundation event. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Haji. Next, I am pleased to invite our esteemed director, who will offer her first perspectives and vision for the future of NIAB. Her leadership has played a crucial role in our institute's ongoing success and growth. Please give a warm welcome to our director.
Thank you very much, Yash. A very warm good morning to everyone, to today's chief guest and the speaker of this Foundation Day. Thank you very much for accepting, and thank you for being with us. At the outset, I like to congratulate one and all for this institute's 13th Foundation Day. I think, I don't know about others, but I'm still, yesterday evening when we jubilated, celebrated, and slowly we are moving ahead after completing a very fine decade plus 3 years, which we complete today. And as rightly mentioned by a senior manager, the buildings, the fundings do not make an institute vibrant. It might make an institute to move, but the movement and vibrancy only comes if an institute has incredible people like you are. And when I say so, I mean it. As also rightly mentioned by Mr. Haji, that everyone has contributed and played a very significant role. So with that, Mr. Sridhar, I made a small presentation. And the Foundation Day is surely a day which, mesmerizes us. And these are the days when we remember the good old things. And we also remember all those wise men and women who were part of building up this important institution. So, do I need to use this? Okay, I'll hold it like this. Thank you. So, this is our beautiful campus, and we are into 100 acres of land. And we work with the mission and vision, which is mentioned over here. It's very clear. everything, anything to do with the animal biotechnology. And our focus is into it to generate a globally competent livestock-based economy. And institute really aims to harness a novel and cutting-edge areas to address it. Senior manager made my tasks a little easier, but these are the things which are really happening. As of today, we stand with this lovely campus and equally good people around here, our students, faculty, and staff, and everyone. So this institute, basically, we owe and we remember Professor M. Khan, the then Secretary DBT, who conceptualized that there should be an institute which should work on animal biotechnology. And he worked very hard. There were many ups and downs, I personally know. So as was said that we were registered, it's an autonomous institute, which was registered in the Society Act. And initial days, it was in university campuses. Interim campus was in Mayapur, as was mentioned. This is what is that they started building up the dreams for this institute. And this is the permanent campus where today we sit. And it's naturally vibrant, professionally accomplished. And this could only happen because of the people who have been part of the journey. Well, it's a good time to look back how a year passes. It was 12th Foundation Day when we had Madam. And adjacent to that is Professor Redana. It's also a good day to thank Professor Redana, who played a very significant role in acquiring the land for this institution wherein we are. With that, we move Blessed Institute. And it's a blessed institute by all of us, and also blessed otherwise. And these are the areas on which we work. We believe in one earth, one tree, one future, and one health. And our programs are, it's not only a statement, we work accordingly. These are the areas we really focus on. I shall come into it as I move. However, I thought it would be very nice to have a couple of glimpses when the NIB's journey was going on. Conception by late Professor M.K. Khan, the visionary, and the discussions and lands and so on and so forth. And this is Professor Shankar, who has played John. And these have been significant in and it moved on in different meetings, committee, billing, and side-wise. I'd like to inform guests of this morning. So, part has all these things going on. A small group of scientists, whether they were at the university or at Mayapur, they never left doing their science part. And probably that's how we grew and what we have today. The seed which was sown at that time by a small team of people, small yet important. And so also the research and academic leadership was also playing a significant role in promoting and encouraging the scientific fraternity and the students who remain the life of any institute and till date also we see. Site finalization, I must mention Dr. who was the officer looking after this institute. And we visited, and nice of those people who have really, while constructing the topographic tag and and this was when I also visited. They ever remain younger, and I wish when they are constructing, and this construction was happening with the director and of course the team or the whole team, engineering and development team. And this is the day which was mentioned, 11th August 2018, when Dr. Harshvardhan, the issues of Dr. and this building was inaugurated, which is our institute. He did team and so much And during which time the Indian Voucher was is a kind of important outcome. And hostels were made by during this tenure, and so many other things. So the journey continued, and there will be more national and international and former secretary, and current secretary chose this institute for first DBT directors meeting, which we call. So very nice, and we have instituted Professor M.K. Bhan Memorial Lecture. 7th December is the day when we commemorate and we celebrate. So it's things with all togetherness, and as on today, 25th of May 2024, dear friends, this is all what we are, and this is all a journey continues with that. And it would be not be fair if I do not put salutations, memory of all the former directors and the in-charge director who really what the Anand started, former visionaries, secretaries, and the all the funding and above all the admins, people who are here and people who are part of it. And so that I don't think we would have been there. So these are the key research areas. We focus on animal and production, and all these blocks are showing about the infectious biology. We got one, viral pathogens, bacterial and parasites, and we also work on adjuvant delivery. From the production side, working on an important area to enhance the shelf life of the oocytes and focuses on a large animal. Currently, the work is going on in the goat and some other work. The transgenic team is very good over here. I like to emphasize that here the therapeutic biomolecule production, one part is over utilizing the poultry animal. Now the team is focusing on another therapeutic biomolecule using goat as a model. We also work on stem cell therapeutics and scaffolding of it. And we have a team which has a stem cell biologist and a material scientist, organoid people. Our bioinformatics team is doing very good. And yesterday you witnessed it when they were completing and closing the NGS Achala. And the nanotechnology group is very focused, and their outcome is we have there's only one star, the one who is starting it, a nutrition person, but he is ranked by a couple of us, and he is currently in the digestive. So with that, I'll be very brief in sharing some of the important flagship ongoing and recently completed ones. So this is for Indigo. So yesterday we discussed a lot, and now we are there. So this number is just showing us how many steps are there, and server was elaborating it to you. Right now, the status is the work is ongoing with the NDDB. Our aim was to get it linked with the phenotypic characteristic. So in country there are two places which are very good. One is NDDB and the one bio. And we chose NDDB. In fact, the team chose NDDB, and we are very happy. So it's continuing. And in fact, it's also a good day to announce in public. Yesterday only we got an extension for the project. So it's further extended. It was getting over. So very nice, Sandeep. It's a good, nice community mode. So we can continue with the work. So that's a Foundation Day gift to the group. And another pathology of some of the zoonotic pathogens. So 2 pathogens were picked up, JD and leptospirosis. And these are the outcomes which I'll be sharing in my coming slides. This is an important one which I was just talking about, the zoonosis and One Health. For sure, there are a couple of groups which have been doing it. However, the GT thought in 2020 and the United it started in 2021, September to be very precise.
This is a very question of this. I also feel, a bit of happiness in stating that all the samples from the advisory committee has asked us to share a repository of these samples. So we are the repository of the sample, and in future, whatever One Health program goes on, this repository should be an important place to move on. This gives us pride to say that it took us 12 years, and this is the first one of our young faculty, Abhijit, who works on a parasite called Toxoplasma. So these are kind of the numbers that we have, these extramural projects. And recently, some of our, this is a number of people we have. We're trying to put over here as a small group, small but fairly good happening group. So this external project is also a day to inform you that last year UKRI and BPT announced a grant, collaborative grant. So money was limited on both sides. They funded, I'm not very precise, but I was told roughly 12 to 13 projects, out of which 2 UKRI DBT project came to this institution. So these are our outreach. We don't do any extension work. However, we do this activity. I welcome Dr. Tara Satyavati to our foundation day. Please come. She is the director, Millet Research Institute, ICI Millet Research Institute at Hyderabad. I'm happy you joined us, Tara. Please welcome. On this 13th Foundation Day, as I said, and this the one, the bright one, technology is also transferred. Technology is developed as well as transferred to different companies, and the technologies which are in more or less in the end of the pipeline, and they are almost ready to get transferred, and this is ongoing more. And I believe who better than Mr. Tarun Sridhar when it comes on data and when it comes to livestock and other things. I'm sure that he concurs the whole statement and the importance of this institute. This is the this is the livestock of this to have animal for production of biotherapeutics, as I said, and eventually there works. Based therapeutic approaches, and we don't only use the stem cells, we use the stem cells in its byproducts. We do media, we exosomes, we do different kind of printings, 3D printings, and we use different patterns. The generation of different nano-based or hydrogel-based scaffolds, and also to maintain our different lives. So that's what work is going on. We come on the infectious biology, important institute. I divided an is and a zoonotic and a non-zoonotic one. So these are the zoonotic ones we work on. And we also work on some of the non-zoonotic ones, including the LSDV. So when there was an LSDV outbreak, I'll come and I'll just show. I would like to highlight a group, one of the zoonotic diseases, tuberculosis. So what all they have done, they have generated a LFAs, ELISA, then protein as well as peptide base. And they have a DIVA capable LFA. One can really distinguish between the vaccinated and unvaccinated animals. This technology is also transferred, right? And the technology has also validated it. So we are just ready. They're working on a boxes and all. So we're just ready to kind of give it to public because institutions cannot do everything. One of the scientists who was in Israel joined us last year and started working very nicely. This is his laboratory's work, working on a trophoblast primary cells and also spheroids basically, to induce reproductive dysfunction is a long-term goal. However, humble work and humble data it's on the bacterium and so it's some complete rises and other than mycobacterium bovis and tuberculosis rises is now and so this is the TB group outcome. This is what I was just saying. There was LSDB and the vaccine was not there. Vaccine development surely is one thing. However, doing hardcore molecular biology and immunoinformatics work is equally important to understand what the virus is doing and also to get some of the multiple vaccine candidates. So this two work was done. And currently we are focusing with the now collaboration. So this is what exactly work by Anand's lab. And for scientists, there was a discussion, what do we do with the university? So this is a scientist she's from University, and together we have a complete genome sequence again from India, 2019 on the isolate. So some new good big projects generated, developed, and almost getting ready by the DBT, wherein we include the DBT organization. This particular project is Plant Genome Research Institute. It has the idea is whatever is the base for these people, they work on Brassica so that we can the anti-inflammatory factors of this waste product is taken out, and then NID discussions are working towards it. Another important project on the biomanufacturing. This is all data and so on. So we're talking about the smart proteins, protein. This is the lead and it's an idea of a current integrated to work on biofoundry and biomanufacturing. This is our facility. Friday. Thank you very much for inaugurating it, Sridhar. So this is the infectious. We have a non-infectious facility, ABSL, which was inaugurated early here. We do have a ABSL-3 facility, but it is jointly managed by University of Hyderabad. It's a DBT funded facility, but it's kind of 10-15 kilometers away from us. This is our vaccine testing facility, which came into existence in 2021 from PM CARE money. And the whole idea was during COVID times, they wanted to test COVID vaccines. So they established two VTFs institute, one in Hyderabad because Bharat is here and one in NCTF because Serum was there. That was the logic. But one COVID and VTF, we have some other plans to convert it into veterinary vaccine. Last but one slide, just to inform maybe to mainly to our students. So this is the hybrid PhD we are starting under the the NDP 2020 and that. So its idea is three eyes are ideate, immerse, and these are the students would be coming, and the placement cell is going to be at IAB. This is what your strength because we are in Hyderabad. And this is a new beginning, and surely we have a huge funding from Branch in India, Milwin India Gates. With that, I thank you very much. Thanks all for your patience. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, ma'am, for sharing your vision and guiding us on the path forward. And now it gives me immense pleasure to introduce our chief guest, Shri Tarun Sridhar, former Secretary, DHT, Government of India, who has significantly contributed to the field of animal husbandry dairying and fisheries in India. His exemplary career is marked by numerous achievements and transformative initiatives that have left a lasting impact on the agriculture and fisheries sectors of our country. Mr. Sridhar is a retired IAS officer who holds a colossal 35 years of work experience in handling affairs from the Ministry of Fisheries, Animal Husbandry, and Dairying. He served as the Additional Chief Secretary of Animal Husbandry and Fisheries in the Himachal Pradesh government. His strategic vision and leadership were instrumental in driving substantial advancement in these sectors. Mr. Sridhar also held the position of Joint Secretary Fisheries in the Union Ministry of Agriculture and Farmers Welfare. During this period, he played a pivotal role in introducing the specific pathogen-free Litominus venami shrimp culture in India. This initiative has propelled our country to become a major global producer in the farm shrimp industry, placing India predominantly on the world map of shrimp production. Mr. Sridhar's vision, approach, dedication, and innovative mindset has been key factor in his success. His contributions have not only enhanced the productivity and sustainability of fisheries, but have also significantly improved the livelihoods of countless farmers and fishermen across the nation. Today, as we gather to celebrate NIAB's 13th Foundation Day, we are honored to have Mr. Tarun Sridhar with us to share his valuable insight and experiences. His lecture titled Homo sapiens and Regnum in a Midship of Health and Well-being promises to be an enlightening and thought-provoking session that will deepen our understanding of the intricate relationship between human and animal health and well-being. Please join me in extending a warm welcome to Mr. Tarun Sridhar. We are privileged to have you with us today, and we look forward for a inspiring message. Thank you.
A very good morning to all of you. Dr. Taru Sharma, Director NIAB, Dr. Satyavati, Director Indian Institute of Immediate Research, the distinguished members of the NIAB family, ladies and gentlemen. It's indeed a great honor and privilege for me to be participating in one of the most important events of the year for NIAB, and I'm thankful to Dr. Sharma for giving me this opportunity. Let me also join the previous speakers in congratulating all of you. Today is the 13th Foundation Day. Now you become teenager, official teenager today. And teenage is one stage of life which is full of energy and vibrancy, and we hope that this energy and vibrancy translates itself into the mandate of this organization and takes it forward. I was a bit apprehensive when our friend said that they were looking forward to an enlightening and thought-provoking address by Mr. Sridhar. See, I was discussing with Dr. Taru Sharma when I was sent the draft of the program. The precise time given for the Foundation Day address was 1 hour and 10 minutes. That is 70 minutes. And believe me, my legs were shaking as to how would I engage the interest of all of you for 70 long minutes. Now you expect it to be enlightening and thought-provoking. It's quite a bit of a challenge. It's a further challenge because in front of me are all scientists, or some persons who may or may not be scientists, but who are living among scientists and interacting with them on a day-to-day basis. Here I am addressing a group of scientists who is not a scientist. And as I was telling some of the friends yesterday during the program, that I was a student of science till my school days, but I didn't do too well in science. So my parents thought it wise to put me in arts. Having said that, let me try to engage your attention over the next 45 minutes or so. I'm a good face reader, and if I tend to get too tedious, I will see it on your faces and I'll try to cut short. Why did I choose this topic? Again, when I asked Dr. Taru Sharma as to what is the expectation from the guest who is to deliver the Foundation Day address, he told me that it should necessarily or preferably revolve around the mandate of the Institute. And the mandate of the institute, and which was presented in one of the slides of Dr. Sharma, was also at the end of the day, improvement continues one in animal health and animal productivity. And there was this slogan which said that animal health for human welfare. That is the slogan of your organization. And that is precisely what the topic I have chosen for my address today is. And I would not dwell upon the science of the subject because I would be intruding upon your area without possessing any knowledge or expertise of this. But having been a policymaker and having interacted with the professionals and scientists like you during my career, and as I said yesterday, having great genuine respect from the heart for all the scientists and professionals with whom I have interacted, whatever little policy perspectives I have gained, I'll share with you. And probably it will be helpful for you to understand as to how the policymakers and administrators think. Because Dr. Satyavati, Dr. Sharma, at the end of the day, we are your clients. Whatever research you do is something that research which has to translate into policy, which policymakers like me frame or use to frame. Ladies and gentlemen, the origin of the present day Homo sapiens from the great apes of the past is said to date back to about 200,000 years. Until as recently as 12,000 years ago, we were all hunters. Or if we were not hunting animals, we were gathering wild plants. The transition of domestication of the plants and domestication of animals, it started when the ice age started melting down. That is how we graduated from being hunter-gatherers to the farmers and agriculturists of today. The history of the past millennia consists of tales of hunter-gatherer societies being driven out, infected, conquered, or exterminated by farming societies all across the world. Today, almost every person on earth consumes food which they either produce themselves or it is produced by them, by someone else. It is only a handful of communities, that too in certain very remote and isolated corners of the world, where the hunter-gatherer style of civilization and life still exists, and that too is on the verge of extinction. The earliest agriculturists also kept certain semi-domesticated animals. But the hunter societies, when they kept domesticated animals, they were primarily to assist them in the practice and art of hunting. It was only much later that actual livestock, specifically as a food source, began primarily in tropical and semi-tropical regions of the Middle East. Thereafter, early farmers discovered that wherever water was available, it was possible for them to grow crops around the year. And then they realized the value of animals for the purpose of drawing water for irrigation, and then thereafter irrigation system started. Domesticated animals became a very invaluable resource, with small ruminants such as goat, sheep, pigs, and poultry. They were kept for food production, and other farm implements and plows were to be drawn by the larger animals. Further innovation was the exploitation of mammals for the purpose of milk. So it's very fascinating, and it really fascinates me also. How is it that some pastoral boy or girl or man or woman in the distant past would have thought that if a small baby of a goat or a heifer is sucking milk from the udders of the cow, this is something I should also try. And then he played around with the udders, and in a jet came milk, and he tried to taste that milk. Humans were lactose intolerant. Milk could not be digested, but still the man persisted. And today milk has become the most consumed food in the world. It's a very fascinating history, which probably we can keep for some another day. I was really fascinated at how a totally lactose intolerant being has now become the biggest consumer of a food which is primarily lactose rich. Further, after milk was also the discovery of incubation of eggs without the nesting hens. And that is when the Romans were the first ones to to discover and invent the art of incubation. And thereafter, eggs also became part of the human diet. The chemical compounds forming animal flesh are recognized to be concentrated, easily digested, and capable of satisfying all human nutrient requirements. Thus, the earliest of the Homo sapiens were carnivorous. Game was abundant at that time. It supplied entire dietary needs of the population. And hunting also required considerably less time and effort than the drudgery of gathering wild plants. There's a very interesting saying by an American biologist called Jack Cohen. Jack Cohen, the American biologist, has a theory which says that a taste of animal flesh at that time was a prerequisite for development of intelligence. I repeat, Jack Cohen, American biologist, says that human intelligence developed because of consumption of animal flesh, that is meat. Now, people who are die-hard vegetarians would be shocked by this statement of this biologist. What is his logic? I will quote. You don't need much intelligence to sneak up on a blade of grass. He says hunting requires intelligence. You have to sneak upon an animal and then find the animal and hunt it. If you have to just pluck a blade of grass or a plant, it doesn't require intelligence. That is how he links. I don't know whether it will be empirically proven or not, but this is a renowned and a reputed biologist who is stating that. Soon, domestic animals or livestock became the society's major source of animal protein. And today, we get most of our animal protein from cows, pigs, sheep, and chicken, with game such as venison or wild boar becoming just a rare delicacy, even though it is illegitimate in several countries. In addition, some big domestic mammals are a boon to the vegetarian communities, serving sources of milk, cheese, butter, yogurt, etc. Thus, interestingly, yielding several times more nutrients and proteins over their lifetime than if they were just slaughtered and consumed as meat. Now, this is an argument contrary to what Jack Cohen said. Vegetarian societies are not only preserving the animal protein, etc., but drawing more out of an animal than a non-vegetarian, because when you consume an animal for meat, you kill it and it is one time. But when you are relying upon vegetarian protein such as milk, cheese, yogurt, etc., you are utilizing that animal as a source of human nutrition during this entire lifetime. The ever-evolving knowledge and experience of domestication of erstwhile wild animals developed into the modern science of animal husbandry, a terminology which is derived from the word husband. Now, can anyone tell me why is it is called animal husbandry? What has husband to do with animal? Okay, it's a very, very interesting thing. The modern day meaning of the husband is totally different from the archaic meaning of the word husband. Husbandry has nothing to do with marriage. In fact, the word husband itself didn't mean a married man till about 1,000 years ago. Well, husbands had not become unhinged back then. Husband actually referred to farmers who basically were engaged in hard physical labor. Thereafter, the word husbandry got the meaning of efficient management of a household. If there are any students of literature, they may have read Shakespeare's play, The Merchant of Venice. I'm sure you've all heard of Shakespeare. Everybody would have heard of Shakespeare, one of the greatest playwrights. He has written a play called The Merchant of Venice, and there's a heroine in that play is a beautiful young rich girl called Portia. So she is telling one of her subjects. I quote the dialogue from The Merchant of Venice. Lorenzo is the name of the person. Lorenzo, I commit into your hands the husbandry and management of my house. So the meaning of the archaic word husband was to use with care, to keep, to save, to make last, to conserve. In short, a holistic and responsible management. In fact, most and perhaps all of our industrial agriculture's manifest shortcomings and even failures are the result of an attempt to make the land and livestock produce more and more without husbandry. Husbandry is nothing but sustainable management and development. That is from where the word animal husbandry came. Very interesting, when I was heading the animal husbandry department of my state, a continuous demand from the officers of the department, the veterinarian, was that please change the name of the department from Department of Animal Husbandry to Department of Veterinary Services. I had a hard time to explain that animal husbandry gives you a much elevated status than only what is called veterinary services. I'll just explain it to you later. Why do we associate husbandry with animals but not crops or other production systems? It is an inference universally accepted that more than domestication of plants, it was the success of domesticating animals that marked a major and dramatic turning points for humans. The beginning of an agricultural way of life and resultantly more permanent and stable civilizations. Plus, domesticated creatures also became integrated into the most basic and widespread rituals of cultures across the world. You see, domestication is very different from taming. Taming implies exercising control over a single animal, teaching it to obey. Taming is also a tedious business. You have to do it in case of each and every animal. If you have tamed one dog, it does not mean you have tamed all the dogs. You have to train and tame each and every dog. Domestication, on the other hand, even though it initially precedes taming, is actually a tribute to human spirit of creativity and innovation. It happens to the whole species, or a whole population of wild animals. And thereafter, it leads to genetic modification and manipulation, including through controlled breeding of an animal to establish new breed or cultivated variation, which is healthier, which is better, which is more productive, and more importantly, which lives symbiotically with the human beings. And that is, Dr. Tarun Sharma, I think, is one of the mandates of your organization. Through the intervention of biotechnology, enhance the productivity, improve the breeds, improve the health of the animals. And that is what domestication of animals leads to. Curiously, it is not only the source of food and nutrition. All across civilizations and religions, the domesticated animals, besides being an invaluable source of food, have also come to symbolize order as opposed to the chaos of the untamed world. Hinduism, as also several other religious beliefs, do not recognize much spiritual distinction between animals and men. Both have souls, and in our Hinduism, passing from men into animals and back again. This is a commonly held belief. All species are woven into one infinite web of karma. So animals, the ones which have been domesticated, are more than food. They are integrated into the entire social and cultural fabric. It is said that when Brahma created the animals, he hid a specific secret in each of them to signify their spiritual importance to humans. You see, in ancient India, the study of animals, or Pashu Vidya, was considered an important subject of study. In the race for scarce natural resources and nature's bounties, we may at times appear adversarial, yet the Homo sapiens and the regnum animal, that is human beings and the animal kingdom, are inextricably intertwined, and Plantis supports both of them. That is the rich biodiversity of fauna, including millets. It supports the animal kingdom and human beings in their very intricate relations. The earliest human contact with animals, thus, besides being a survival necessity in search of food, is also a saga of the indomitable human spirit of bravery and ingenuity. But what is less known is that this symbiotic relationship with the animals is also the historical onset of human diseases. And that is, again, one of the mandates of this institute. One Health, which you also, Dr. Sharma, mentioned. The ancient Greek philosopher and physician Hippocrates, considered one of the most outstanding figures in the history of medicine and traditionally referred to as the father of medicine, in recognition of his lasting contribution to the field, was the first in the recorded history of civilization to recognize the relationship between human and animal health. The central idea of Hippocratic philosophy is the principle of wholeness, that knowledge of nature is possible only when it is correctly approached as a whole. In a nutshell, it recognizes that human health, animal health, and environmental health are part of a whole body. Hippocrates advocated that administration of medicine should rest on the foundation of this holistic understanding. The concept of One Health as a scientific concept may be a recent one, and it may have entered the medical lexicon in the recent times. It is in fact a recognition of what Hippocrates said about circa 400 BC, in his very famous treatise called On Airs, Waters, and Places. Hippocrates urged physicians at that time to consider all aspects of a patient's life, including the environment. According to him, disease was an outcome of imbalance between man and environment. And that is precisely what the approach to One Health recognizes, that the health of the people is connected to the health of animals and our environment, which is a shared one. Historical evidence indicates that veterinary medicine originally developed in response to the needs of the pastoral and agricultural man along with human medicine. The evidence further points out the likely existence of veterinary profession throughout a large area of Africa and Asia in around 2000 BC. In fact, there is an ancient Egyptian literature, you could go through it or very conveniently Google it these days, which includes monographs on both animal and human diseases. Evidence of parallel development of human and veterinary medicine is found in the writings of Hippocrates on medicine, and also of the great philosopher Aristotle, who described, Aristotle also came almost at the same time as Hippocrates, who described the symptomatology and therapy of diseases of animals, including man. Earlier Greek scholars discovered parallels and similarities of medical problems among many animal species, and thus taught both human and veterinary medicine. Alexander the Great, जिसे हम सिकंदर भी कहते हैं, in the 4th century BC, designed programs which involved study of animals. Several medical writings of the Roman civilization establish that some of the most important early observations and scientific studies on the natural history of disease were made by scholars who wrote chiefly about agriculture, particularly the aspect involving domesticated animals. Veterinary literature of the ancient times, especially the then very rich civilizations of Greece and Rome, they contain references to the herd factors. It was widely recognized that contagion is an outcome of groups of animals kept together. Therefore, both quarantine and slaughter used to be the preferred strategies to control outbreaks of livestock diseases. And what is our response these days? Avian influenza, what was our response? It was culling. And COVID pandemic, what was our response? Quarantine. And this is what we find in the ancient civilizations. Scientific studies done during that time. It was the serious outbreak of rinderpest, which is also commonly known as animal plague, which led to the establishment of the first veterinary college in the world in the year 1762 in the city of Lyon in France, called École Nationale Vétérinaire in Lyon. And that is the time when the scientific community understood that most aspects of animal diseases are best understood in terms of population or herd phenomena. Herds of livestock, rather than individual animals, are vaccinated against specific diseases. And when we respond to human diseases or the threat of diseases, we tend to vaccinate the entire communities and the entire populations. You see, animals have long been recognized as agents of human disease. Well, whether it is a disease transmitted through a pathogen or simple a bee stinging a human being. The work of the famous scientist Louis Pasteur is of fundamental significance against this background. It is Louis Pasteur's work which guided the veterinary science towards concern for foods of animal origin, leading to the study of microorganisms and their identification with diseases in man and other animals. Efforts were then directed towards protecting humans from diseases of animal origin, primarily those which were transmitted through meat or dairy products. Modern principles of food hygiene were first established for the dairy and meat packing industries in the 19th and the early 20th centuries, and have now been generally applied to foods of animal origin in particular, and other food processing industries in general. It is now at this stage that veterinary profession assumed a major role in food hygiene programs. Gradually, the eradication of animal diseases rather than their control became increasingly important. And the present day strategy of combating zoonosis and contributing to assured hygienic, safe, and nutritious food supply have become indispensable services of veterinary science. According to the World Health Organization, as also the World Organization of Animal Health, which is still known by its common acronym of OIE, taking it from its earlier French name, something which Dr. Taru also put in one of her slides. 60% of existing human infectious diseases are zoonotic. Now, this figure or this percentage figure you would be reading on a day-to-day basis. But it's never too much to repeat it time and again to understand the importance of zoonotic diseases and understand the importance of managing our animal diseases and animal health in the entire gamut of human public health. 75% of emerging infectious human diseases have an animal origin. Of the 5 new human diseases appearing every year, 3 originate in animals. And if this is not scary enough, 80% of biological agents which have a potential bioterrorist threat are zoonotic pathogens. And in fact, till date, the mystery of the coronavirus, its origin and its purpose remains unraveled so far. Whether the reasons are scientific, lack of research, or political, we don't know. WHO and as also the World Organization of Animal Health both estimate, although these are also only gross estimates, that 2 billion people per year are affected by zoonotic diseases, and 2 million out of these cause death on account of zoonotic diseases. This is a figure more than the combined deaths occurring on account of HIV, AIDS, and diarrhea. And 1/5 of the deaths in poor countries and developing countries are attributed to diseases transmitted from animals to humans. And you would all know that all the pandemics in the recent history have been the result of zoonotic diseases, including the latest one, which had thrown life out of gear all across the world. In the face of demographic challenges, increased international trade, and effects of climate change, animal health is of more fundamental importance than ever to the development and well-being of human populations around the world. Livestock constitute more than 40% of the value of global agriculture, and it supports the income and livelihoods of 1/5 of the global population, mostly in developing countries. Obviously, animal diseases can significantly impact the economy and livelihood of a vast multitude. The global burden of animal diseases is not very easy to measure. It is huge. It quite evidently leads to a burden of human diseases, impacts food security, dents the economy. And as the latest pandemic has demonstrated, it also strikes at the basic fabric of the society and its lifestyle. A zoonotic micropathogen brought the entire mankind to its knees and forced it into a self-imposed lockup. Why I'm time and again reiterating is just to also remind ourselves that human memory is very short. Now that the COVID pandemic is behind us by 2 or 3 years, we again tend to fall back upon the same lifestyles. Now, these facts and these background and this experience should surely build a strong case for strengthening the veterinary institution and services, including the service being provided by institutions such as yours. After all, the most effective as also the most economic approach to protecting human health is to control zoonotic pathogen at their animal source. Not only does it call for close, institutionalized and harmonized collaboration at local, regional and global level between veterinary health and environmental governance, but also greater investment in the animal health infrastructure. This is what entirely One Health systems and the institutional mechanism envisage. In fact, developing countries like ours have much greater stakes in the One Health systems. Why? Because our agriculture holdings are very small and we have mixed farming systems which result in uncomfortably close proximity of animals and humans. Now, mixed farming systems are very unique to India and some of the developing countries like India. In fact, mixed farming system is a typical phenomena of South Asian subcontinent. You will not find any farmer who does not own some livestock. And similarly, you will find very few farmers who are exclusively livestock farmers who don't grow any crops. This is what a mixed farming system is. So what typically happens in the mixed farming system is that the living proximity of human beings and animals is very, very close. And the interaction of the humans with animals also has a physical closeness and a frequency which makes the human beings much more vulnerable. Plus, we also require a regular diet of animal protein from milk, eggs, meat, etc. And we do not get this kind of nutrition. And if we do not get adequate quantity of animal proteins, this is also a public health issue. Thus, the loss of food animals on account of disease or poor health is also a public health issue. Now, an animal may not have transmitted a pathogen or a transmitted a disease from itself to a human being. But if the animal itself is enjoying very poor health, and if the animal itself succumbs to death on account of poor health of disease, it is also a loss of human nutrition and protein. So this animal disease by itself, even though not transmitted to humans, should also be a human public health concern, since human beings are deprived of the precious animal protein and nutrition it would have offered. And we lose 20% of our animals on account of poor health and disease, which may not have been a cause of transmission of the disease. And 20% in a huge livestock population of India would itself be a huge number. Therefore, a veterinarian today protects the health of both animals and human beings. Besides addressing the health concerns, the welfare needs of every species of animal too are his domain. And as I said earlier, moreover, as a manager of animal husbandry, a veterinarian also plays a critical role in rural livelihoods and economy, environment protection, food safety, and hence public health, unlike a human doctor who only treats patients. Ladies and gentlemen, the size of our human population and the livestock population is almost the same. How many are we today? What is our population today? About 140 crore. And what is our livestock population today, including all animals, poultry? Poultry नहीं जोड़ी इसमें. अगर poultry भी जोड़ लो तो 140 crore. Poultry is also the domain of poultry is also livestock. Poultry is animal. अगर fish जोड़ लोगे तो I don't know how many, because you can't really count fish. So we have 140 crore livestock population, which includes poultry. We have a network of more than 2 lakh health institutions across different levels in the government sector. And these are the backbone of our health infrastructure. But they are also supported by a large number of private health institutions, you would have private hospitals spread all across the city of Hyderabad, as also other cities of the country, even in rural areas. On the other hand, we have only 65,000 veterinary institutions to cater to the health needs of the same population. And out of these 65,000, only 27,000 are institutions which have a veterinary doctor. Others are either mobile dispensaries or first aid centers, which may or may not have a paravet also, which may likely only have an MTS. Just to tell you, please go to such and such hospital, or 2 days later, a paravet will come and attend to your animal. And private sector in this country in veterinary services is virtually non-existent. Quite unlike the developed countries, wherein there is hardly any government sector in veterinary service and it is the private sector. We have no private sector in veterinary services. If we have, it is in some big towns and cities, catering only to dogs and cats, not to the economic asset of cow, buffalo, sheep, goat, poultry, etc. Unlike a physician or a surgeon, a veterinary doctor is always on a house call. Have you seen a cow or a buffalo being admitted in a veterinary hospital and treated there? Anyone? Any veterinary doctors here? Very rare, very rare. We have some university, we have small where there would be probably one operation theater for large animals. But you know what it requires? A kind of pulleys and hauling systems it requires to lift a large animal, bring him to veterinary. So veterinary doctor essentially is a doctor who is on a house call. So there could not be a stronger case for expanding and reinventing the entire veterinary services sector to aim at reaching each and every livestock farmer, not only for treatment of diseases, but for prevention, control, and surveillance. And if all this is not required for concern for animal, it is required for concern for human health, because as we have seen, human health is greatly threatened by pathogens which are emanating from animals. Early detection of diseases and infections at animal source can prevent their transmission to humans and also prevent their introduction to the human food chain. So a robust animal health system is the first and the most crucial step in human health. Therefore, ladies and gentlemen, it has always been a great matter of concern for me, as also it should be a matter of concern for all the stakeholders, including institutions like you, that investment in veterinary services and the entire veterinary sector in this country remains woefully low. I don't know how many more pandemics we would like to see before we wake up to the fact that we need to strengthen our veterinary services. After all, the universally recognized definition of One Health, which was again shown by the director, states, I quote from the definition given by WHO, human health and animal health are interdependent and bound to the health of the ecosystems in which they exist, unquote. Now, this is restating what Hippocrates said thousands of years back in a different way. So veterinary is also the most skillful doctor in the world. Veterinarian does not enjoy the luxury of questioning his patient and asking what your symptoms are. He is required to understand and diagnose without the benefit of any verbal communication, unless the mooing of a cow can tell him that the cow is now mooing in pain or mooing in joy. So a veterinary is not only a very dexterous medical professional, but also has to be a communicator of divine insight. दैविक शक्ति होनी चाहिए उसमें समझने के लिए कि जानवर की जो आवाज निकल रही है वो क्या कहना चाह रहा है. It was our predecessors who recognized and respected the immense contribution of veterinary science. Therefore, it should come as no surprise to learn that actually, globally, veterinary science preceded health science. the World Organization of Animal Health, a global body overseeing animal health, was established in the year 1924. As it was called that time OIE. It is still called OIE, although the English name is World Organization of Animal Health. But till to 3 years back, its name was Office International des Epizooties. It is a French name, translated to English means World Organization of Animal Health. This was established in 1924. And when was the World Health Organization established? Anyone? 24 years later in 1948. So the global community recognized the importance of protecting animal health way earlier than protecting human health and established the World Organization of Animal Health in 1924 with its headquarters in Paris, whereas the World Health Organization with its headquarters in Geneva was established in the year 1948. While the public disclosure on animal welfare issues grew louder, unfortunately, the concern for animal health care and the resultant veterinary public health governance started getting ignored, as welfare issues have not progressed beyond sentimentalism. The concern for animal health, unfortunately, has been victim of either sheer sentimentalism or ignorance. They have not realized that true animal welfare would be investing in strong animal health so that it could also lead to a stronger human health. Interestingly, do you know India was one of the indirect triggers for establishment of OIE, that is World Organization of Animal Health, in the year 1924? Does anybody know why the World Organization of Animal Health was established in 1924? What was the immediate trigger? No. Dr. Taru, yesterday we were interacting with those young, bright students and scientists. We mentioned that, well, India can take pride in the fact that the Western world domesticated the cows and the milk animals after they imported the same from India. It was a big consignment of Zebu cattle, which was on way to USA from India. And it was going in the ship. And the ship, docked at the port of Antwerp in Belgium. That ship docked in the port of Antwerp in Belgium for a few days. And the consignment of the ship was Indian cattle bound to America. Thereafter, there was an outbreak of Rinderpest in Europe. The veterinary scientists and epidemiologists and everyone did research. And the cause of the Rinderpest pandemic in Europe was traced to that consignment of cattle, which had docked in the port of Antwerp in Belgium. And that was the trigger for creation of World Organization of Animal Health. And Indian delegates, every time they attend the annual session of OIE, face this embarrassment, because sitting there, like you, today's session started with your presentation about the history of NIAB. So that annual session where all the countries are there, the auditorium is jam-packed with about 300, 400 people. Its first slide is how did WH came into this, and here was, they have those old photographs, ship containing cattle from India going there and responsible for Rinderpest. So as Indian delegate, we have to sit like this. Probably we are responsible for this. The word veterinary is derived from the Latin word called veterinare, meaning working animal. So veterinary science developed as a science to protect the health and productivity of working animals. Working animal means animals which are of economic importance to the human beings. While it is believed that this term appeared in the written documents in 1646, the ancient text of an Indian sage and veterinary physician, Shalihotra, it's mythologically estimated to have existed somewhere around 2350 BC. Hippocrates came in 400 BC. Shalihotra in 2300 BC. In our text, he is considered to be the founder of veterinary medicine. Now, these are just some folk wisdom what I am narrating to you. I'm not claiming that these are scientifically established, but you do find a mention in the mythological text. Charvak, Susutra, Harit Samhita, these are some of the ancient medical treatises. This all emphasize the sum and substance of in all these treatises the critical importance of protecting animal health and promptly attending to animal disease. This only goes on to indicate or give us a hint that even during the ancient times, as demonstrated by Hippocrates in Greek civilization, the Egyptian monographs, the Roman texts, as also Indian texts, that during the ancient times too, our ancestors had drawn parallels between human health and animal health. One health as a discipline and science may be of recent origin, but as a concept is as old as mankind. Public health. Public health is defined, again, it's a WHO definition, quote, the art and science of preventing disease, prolonging life, and promoting health through the organized efforts of society. The 1978 Alma Ata Declaration outlined the global context and agenda of public health, reaffirming that health is a state of complete physical, mental, and social well-being, and not merely absence of disease or infirmity. This is important. Health is not absence of disease or infirmity. Health is a complete state of physical, mental, and social well-being. And this Alma Ata Declaration also declared that health is a fundamental human right. Therefore, public health requires an affirmative action. It also recognized the gross inequality between different nations, communities, and societies as far as the status of public health is concerned. So the critical intervention for creating a robust and dependable public health governance requires a coordinated and affirmative action of many social and economic sectors in addition to the health sector. Why? Because again, it is not merely physical well-being, but also mental and social well-being. And here the most important, certainly, an equally strong and sound veterinary public health regime is required, because we have been repeatedly trying to establish that a sound animal health system would necessarily mean a sound human health systems. A good human health system cannot exist without a sound veterinary system. After all, history is replete with the instances of zoonotic diseases leading to pandemic of epidemic proportions. The recent one, COVID, being a very glaring example. And if you study the history of pandemics, I would strongly urge an organization and people involved in an organization like this to study the history of various pandemics. You'll find that inevitably all the major pandemics in the world have originated from an animal pathogen or have some history or origin in an animal. The Food and Agriculture Organization, WHO, and WAH, that is World Organization of Animal Health, all jointly define the contribution to the physical, mental, and social well-being of humans through an understanding and application of veterinary science. This is a quote from there. You see, veterinary public health contributes to public health through the knowledge, skills, and resource of veterinary science. This requires deep understanding and effective prevention and control of zoonotic diseases. Food safety issues also close for much closer attention. Accordingly, as public health is a multidisciplinary subject, so is the veterinary public health. And it should involve not only veterinarians, but also agriculture scientists and professionals. An interdisciplinary approach which assigns a pivotal role to veterinary science is essential for the effective and sustainable management of human health. You see, when it comes to your food items, such as milk, eggs, meat, or even bakery products, it is the veterinary science which has to exercise due diligence, which could guarantee both the safety as also the quality of food. You must have heard the name of Dr. Calvin W. Schwab. How many have you heard of Dr. Schwab? No, I'm disappointed. studying animal biotechnology. Dr. Calvin Schwab, the very, very famous veterinary epidemiologist, a German scientist, very well renowned. I would urge that, well, at least read some of Dr. Schwab's work. He recognized the relationship between animal and public health decades before the present day One Health movement. You see, when we talk in terms of Shalihotra or Hippocrates or Aristotle, we are going into old civilization and old ancient texts. These can only give us a philosophical insight into the concerns. But when it comes to the science of public health and the science of veterinary public health, or the science of managing animal diseases or human diseases, animal productivity, etc., we need to rely upon the scientists who have done research in this. I mentioned Dr. Louis Pasteur. Now, Dr. Schwab has a seminal work which is titled Veterinary Medicine and Human Health. And he has written in the year 1964. Dr. Schwab writes in his seminal work called Veterinary Medicine and Human Health in 1964. I quote, "Veterinary medicine," please listen carefully, "veterinary medicine is the field of study concerned with diseases and health of non-human animals." This is the term which he coined, that now this is the perspective in which you understand what you are doing. You are not doing only animal biotechnology, non-human biotechnology, because at the end of the day, whatever research in biotechnology you do, which leads to better animal health, it is for, what was the slogan, Dr. Sharma? Human welfare. So he quoted that veterinary medicine is the field of study concerned with diseases and health of non-human animals. The practice of veterinary medicine directly related to man's well-being in a number of ways, unquote. Through this innovative term, non-human animal, he propounded the concept that public health is inclusive of veterinary health. An early advocate for integrating aspects of veterinary and human medicines, Dr. Schwab is even credited with coining the phrase one medicine. Although the origin of these terms are debated. There is another German physician and pathologist called Dr. Rudolf Virchow. Some says that it was in the 19th century that Dr. Virchow claimed propounded the concept of one medicine. And what Dr. Virchow in the 19th century had written was that there should be no dividing line between human and animal medicine. There should be no dividing line between human and animal medicine. In simple terms, one medicine is the concept whereby human and animal healthcare advance hand in hand with veterinarians. And this is also what your mandate is. This is precisely what your mandate is. Now, interestingly, we have a single drug regulator. Now, when we talk in terms of one medicine, it makes sense to have a single drug regulator. But however, that single drug regulator of this country and the drug regulators in all the states never consider themselves to be regulators for veterinary drugs also. And they hardly give any due attention to that, thus totally ignore what in the 19th century Dr. Virchow had said, and later on in 1964, Dr. Schwab had said that you should look towards the concept of one medicine because you are dealing with non-human animals. The underlying theory of one medicine is that human and veterinary medicine could work together as humans and animals share a lot of their biology. And nearly 75% of all known causes of disease are shared between humans and animals. Even in ancient Greece, convergence between human and animal physiology was a normal part of science. In fact, divergence began in the 19th century when they emerged as two distinct disciplines. Prior to that, veterinary medicine and human medicine, veterinary science and human health science were by and large integrated into one discipline. However, despite the recognition, the current education policy and investment in public health are not structured to support collaboration between human and veterinary medicine, which is rather unfortunate. In fact, too little is invested either financially or academically in developing treatments for animals. If veterinary clinical trials were linked to human drug development, resources could be optimized and treatments developed more quickly for both humans and animals. A convergence between human and veterinary medicine is both possible and desirable, so that humans and animals benefit equitably from scientific advances. This would save time and money, and more importantly, save lives of both humans and non-human animals. I'll just give a very interesting example, and I was telling Dr. Sharma that how we are working in silos independent of each other. As the Secretary of the Ministry of Fisheries, Animal Husbandry and Dairying, I never had a chance to interact with the Secretary Health of Government of India. Only time there would be an interaction was if there was a Nipah virus which resulted in some human death, or some other pathogen discovered and resulted in some human diseases. Otherwise, we never sat together to devise strategies in terms of why should it happen at all. And I also recollect, which Dr. Sharma, I mentioned to you, that in the year 2018 or 19, Dr. Renu Swarup was the Secretary of DBT, and she organized an international workshop, very enlightened workshop on the subject of One Health. Dr. Harshvardhan inaugurated that, and I was one of the speakers. All the stakeholders participated in the workshop on One Health, except the Health Ministry of the country. Except the Health Ministry of the country, everybody participated. And why did the Health Ministry not participate? It is not that they did not subscribe to or swear by the philosophy of One Health. They said, who is DBT to do it? It is our subject. So it is this kind of an institutional ego which comes in play when it comes to collaboration amongst the various organizations of the state. The veterinary services of India, I quote, not my words, the veterinary services of India, quote, have a very competent and professional staff of veterinarians, veterinary paraprofessionals, and other highly qualified specialists in appropriate positions, unquote. This is a statement from a publication of World Organization of Animal Health, which has done evaluation of the veterinary services of India. But after making this statement, it says that there are serious gaps and inadequacies in infrastructure, investment, and manpower availability. It's a very dichotomous situation. A highly qualified, outstanding professional manpower struggling with an extremely poor level of infrastructure and financial resources. I've already stated that developing countries like ours have much greater stake in strong and robust One Health institutional framework because of this close proximity on account of mixed farming systems between animals and human beings. Therefore, it is imperative that health and disease surveillance must incorporate all domestic animals, particularly livestock and poultry. Where do we stand in attaining the goal of a robust One Health regime? And how strong and adequate is our animal health governance, especially in comparison with the health sector? After all, One Health calls for a hand-in-hand relationship, moving together. Now, I already gave you the figure of the number of health institutions vis-a-vis the veterinary institutions. As of today, we have more than 10.5 lakh doctors in the country. How many? 10.5 lakh doctors in the country. And the doctor-patient ratio of this country, as determined by World Health Organization, is 0.074 doctors per 1,000 population. 0.074 doctors per 1,000 population. The norm fixed by the World Health Organization is 1 doctor per 1,000 population. But when they have notified India's ratio, they have not taken into consideration Ayush doctors. We say that we have given a formal recognition to the alternative and traditional systems of medicine, that is Ayurveda, Unani, Siddha, homeopathy. Since they too are registered medical practitioners in our system, if you include the Ayush doctors, then our patient ratio comes to 1 doctor per 1 per 854 population. So we are much better than what the global norm established, notified by the WHO is. Now, where do we stand in terms of veterinary doctors? We have about 70,000. There it is 10.5 lakh plus Ayush doctors, a total figure of more than 11 lakh. Population of 140 crores. Same livestock population, we have only 70,000 veterinary doctors, which are tending to the health and management of disease, often an identical size of livestock and poultry population. Now, what should an ideal or even reasonable ratio is a question no one has asked, and it has not even been answered. There, WHO has laid down a norm, 1 + 1 per 1,000. Now, when I have asked this question, we did a lot of research and we found that in the year 1976, National Commission on Agriculture had made a recommendation with respect to availability of veterinary doctors. And it's a very interesting recommendation. And I would urge the scientists, all the scientists sitting in the room, to give some scientific thought to how it has emerged. And it's also very absurd as to how policies get developed. Now, this 1976 recommendation is what we are following till date. It's nearly 50 years now, and we are following it today. What does it say? The specific recommendation says there should be 1 veterinary doctor per 1,000 adult cattle animal unit, HCU. In terms of human health system, it says 1 doctor per 1,000 population. This says 1 veterinary doctor per 1,000 cattle unit. Now, what is this unit? Why is this word unit? What is this? This unit is 1 cattle or 1 buffalo is 1 unit. 5 pigs equals 1 cattle unit, and 10 goats and sheep constitute 1. इसका मतलब ये है कि in terms of अगर human population ली जाए, तो you can say कि 5 बच्चे एक आदमी के बराबर होंगे, और 10 infants जो है, they will be equivalent to 1. Now, if we were to apply this, probably pediatricians would be out of job today. Now, 1 cattle and 1 buffalo, 1 unit, 5 pigs, 1 unit, 10 goats and sheep, 1 unit. No mention of poultry, no mention of camels, no mention of dogs, no mention of ponies. So this is the way it was determined in 1976, and we have been blindly following it till date. And then we say, well, 70,000 is enough. We are short by a few only. Now, you will understand that most of the pandemics and human concerns on account of animal pathogens have emanated from poultry. And poultry does not even figure in that. So what do we do to poultry? Culling. After when we had this avian influenza, we culled the poultry by millions. Do you need a veterinary doctor to say that kill the animal which is causing disease? That is not a scientific approach. And what about fish? Dr. Taru, is fish an animal or no? Fish is also an animal, but fish is not included in that. And we don't have any discipline in this country for studying fish disease. And only person who, in terms of the regulatory framework and the legal framework, are competent to treat fish or administer medicine to fish is a veterinary doctor. And in his 4 or 5 years of studies of veterinary science, he has only 1 paper in fishery science, which too is of a very general nature. And we've already mentioned that as against more than 2 lakh health institutions, we have a mere 65,000 veterinary institutions across the country. We have 600 medical colleges. We have 600 medical colleges in the country to churn out doctors every year. And we have only 54 veterinary colleges in the country. Again, just look at this huge gap. How would we ever aim this ambitious goal of One Health unless you bridge the gap between the institutional strength and the framework of this? So it is going to be a Herculean challenge to augment and strengthen the veterinary structure. But nonetheless, if we aim for one health regime, we have no alternative but to give serious thought to this issue. You see, medically speaking, correct me if I'm not right. Again, sorry, I'm not a scientist, so whatever I'm stating is what I've learned from my interactions with you. Medically speaking, all humans have, by and large, identical body organs, but each animal species is different. So, veterinary doctor, when he's treating a cat or a dog or a cow or even a zoo animal, he has to deal with different organs, which makes his task much more complex. And wild animals are also his domain. There was a parliamentary study committee. I'm skipping some of the part because I don't want it to get too tedious. The latest report of a parliamentary committee, which has gone into in detail into the status of veterinary services in the country, is of the year 2021. I'll just quote few excerpts from that. The committee expressed concern that testing and treatment facility for veterinary diseases was, in their words, woefully lacking, and expressed that, again their words, it was extremely worrying. And the most serious part is that the committee recorded in its report submitted to the parliament, expressing utter dismay that no veterinary hospital dispensaries were strengthened or established over the past 5 years under a scheme which is centrally sponsored, for which money was given for establishment and strengthening of veterinary hospitals and dispensaries. So this is the kind of attention we have paid to this area. It is indeed true that exponential increase in livestock population in the country has far outstripped the infrastructure, facilities, and the manpower offering veterinary care. And I've given you the data with respect to the manpower, with respect to the institutions, and with respect to the academic infrastructure which is existing. We must recognize that besides posing a serious threat to human health, this inadequacy in veterinary infrastructure not only affects the quality of livestock and outreach of government schemes and programs, but also hampers the growth potential of the livestock sector, depriving us of its economic benefits. And if we do not strengthen this infrastructure in terms with the growing livestock population, Dr. Taru, the efforts you are making in this institute by way of animal biotechnology, enhancement of animal productivity, better health, etc., would come to naught unless there are not enough veterinary doctors and veterinary professionals to take it forward. And as you said, extension is neither your mandate, nor do you have the resources for that. There is a book by a British scientist, Adam Rutherford. It's titled Humanimal. What is titled? Humanimal. Humanimal. I think every scientist, be he a veterinary scientist or otherwise, must read this book. It says that according to the evolutionary theory, humans are animals. And it goes to explain that Homo sapiens of the day are in fact primates who share an ancestor with monkeys and the great apes. To further puncture our ego, Dr. Rutherford in this book says that science tells us that our genome is identical to a chimpanzee's genome up to a whopping 98%. And yet we consider ourselves unique and exceptional. Humanimal is a new evolutionary theory which is explained, and theory and history which is explained in this book. It's the latest research on genetics, sex, migration, and much more. It reveals what makes us animals and also why we are truly extraordinary. It was in your slide also. After all, Vasudhaiv Kutumbakam, we express our commitment to becoming humanimals. Now, he may have turned a very catchy phrase called humanimal, but that is exactly what the concept of Vasudhaiv Kutumbakam also says. I urge you all once again to read this book by Dr. Rutherford. the re-emergence of zoonoses with demanding issues such as bioterrorism, pollution, antimicrobial resistance, the socio-economic challenges of importance of food production. 2050, the global population likely to become 9.7 billion. To feed that population, you need to double the production of animal proteins and nutrition. And now also the challenge of xenotransplantation. They all underscore the urgency of a strong, collaborative, professional approach to veterinary public health. In fact, it is now time to move away from human health, away from veterinary health, and move on to humanimal public health. There is a great writer and thinker of Turkey, Turkish writer and thinker, also philosopher. His name is Mehmet Murat Ildan. I'll end by a very beautiful quote from him. Mehmet Murat Ildan, the Turkish thinker, says, "When animals behave like humans, or when humans behave like animals, when animals behave like humans, or when humans behave like animals, don't be surprised, because in every animal there is a human, and in every human there is an animal." Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Sorry, I should have waited here. Okay.
My question was, 2024, not maintaining global temperature, how India is going to address this kind of situation to meet sustainable goals for climate change. Since you are a Market Secretary and ESP, Government of India, please, you will get that question.
Okay, first, before I answer that question, I will dispel your illusion that I'll be the best person. I will not be the best person to answer this question. Okay, now let me ask you a question. Since you have asked me a question as former Secretary of Animal Husbandry dealing with livestock sector, please sit down. Is livestock sector really responsible for climate change, or is the livestock sector victim of climate change? You see, I'll tell you a small thing. When we talk in terms of climate change, primarily what we are talking about is global warming. And when we talk in terms of global warming, we talk in terms of the methane emissions. There is no authentic data in terms of how much does the livestock sector contribute to global warming or greenhouse gas emissions. You read any literature, there'll be different data. But the universal figure, which whether it's the UNEP or various studies have agreed upon, is about 14.5% or 14.6% of the greenhouse gas emissions are attributed to the livestock sector. And bulk of these greenhouse gas emissions, as far as livestock sectors are concerned, is the methane emission by the cattle. Now, let me tell you, the cattle which is responsible for this methane emission, you see, with or without livestock industry, cattle will emit methane. Is the industrial rearing of cattle for beef? We do not have any beef industry in this country. Typically, our land in terms of cattle holding of our farmers is 1 to 2 cattle per farmer. This is the kind of this thing. It is not to underplay the importance of climate change or greenhouse. What I mean to say is, there are some of the issues, especially environmental issues. I mentioned about animal welfare issues and some other issues, which have been hijacked by ideology, beliefs, and opinions rather than science. And yesterday also we had this, Rausha was mentioning that it was the informatics. It is for people like you to underscore the importance of data-driven, information-driven, informatics-driven decision making. Global warming is a serious issue, but livestock is a very minor contributor to that. However, globally, because livestock sector does not have powerful voices, livestock sector gets the blame. 14.5%, I mentioned, say 15%. Let us come to the round figure. The transportation of livestock products from the production center till the table's consumer is also attributed to this 14.5%, or say 15%. So this again is an exaggerated figure. The emission of the transportation sector is being attributed to livestock sector. Fodder and feed crops. The emissions on account of growing fodder and feed crops are also added to this. So I would say, well, again, I don't have right now data available with me. I'll share one article I had written, Dr. Sharma, with you on this issue of climate change, greenhouse gas emissions, and where does the livestock stand to it, wherein I had taken data. I will share it with you. Probably you can share it. But I would strongly urge you to first consider that greenhouse gas emissions, climate change, global warming are very serious issues. But if you and I are victims of that, livestock sector is also a victim of that. So please consider that if livestock sector is contributing to greenhouse gas emissions, it is also suffering the consequences of greenhouse gas emissions, especially again in developing countries like ours, where we are facing the extremes of the vagaries of climate change and nature, and we do not have the resources to deal with it. Now in Western countries, you go to Netherlands or Switzerland, etc. One cow would, in this your 100-acre campus, you would have only 50 or 100 cows roaming around. They would have the entire campus to themselves to graze, etc. And here, in a room 1/4 of this size, you will have 3 or 4 cows living. So who is threatened by? So this is what my immediate response would be. I'll just again quote you from one quote from Hippocrates, which all scientists must swear by, and also try to educate people. There are in fact two things. There are in fact two things: science and opinion. The former begets knowledge, the latter ignorance. So let us try to beget knowledge through science. Yeah. Sorry, the answer became very long. I hope I have answered part of it, if not. Very important. What is the biggest opportunity? Overall, what I got is one major secondary investment in the livestock area. So why? I mean, what is the big policy? Why we have the minimum selling price of the livestock milk? Okay. See, number one, why don't you sit down? The biggest hurdle in terms of investment in the livestock sector is nothing except for the fact that this sector does not have a voice. There are, as our friend's question with respect to climate change, there are voices against the livestock sector when it comes to climate change. There are no voices in support and favor of the livestock sector. I used to, whenever I worked with a minister, I used to ask him, sir, are you happy that you have been given this important portfolio? Because a politician, a political leader who is made a minister of animal husbandry, dairying and fisheries, his first fear is that the Prime Minister seems to be upset and unhappy with me. That's why he has given me this useless kind of a ministry. Officers like me who are posted there, right from day one, they try I should be transferred to some better so-called glamorous and more important ministry. This sector, unfortunately, never had a strong voice. And whatever the voices were the voices of apology, trying to apologize for methane emission, trying to apologize for this. So how does one get greater investment? Investment not only in terms of money, investment also in terms of intellectual resources, in terms of robust policy inputs and policy interventions. The sector woefully lacks advocates and spokespersons. And I have no hesitation saying that even veterinary scientists and people involved with this section, this sector, they're very hesitant in terms of telling the importance of this sector. People don't know. You ask anybody, the most educated person on the streets of Hyderabad, he may have done PhD, etc. What is the livestock population of this country? And some of the most stellar things livestock sector has done, nobody knows. Do you know the human census which was to take place in 2021 is yet to commence, and they had announced with great fanfare that this time the census will be done digitally and there'll be real-time updation. But then at that time I tried to tell them, and I wrote also, I don't know, no veterinary scientist came forward, that the last livestock census was done on tablets, and there was a real on sitting in Delhi in my ministry, in my table, I used to see 1 minute back there was this much population, now it is this, and it was an amazing feat which the whole world looked at us. Well, a country like India has done livestock census digitally, and there is a real-time updation of data, and it was not a mere data of how many number of cows. 74 parameters of cows in terms of breed, health status, ownership status, productivity, disease, vaccination, everything was done. Yes, but sector does not have a voice. Does not have a voice, and also people like me and my political bosses have let down this sector by being very reluctant participants in this sector. That is one. Now, second was in terms of MSP and other things. I have a bit of different views. You see, agriculture, Dr. Satyavati would bear me out. Generally the growth in the agriculture sector, and when somehow in this country, when we talk of agriculture sector, we have not grown beyond wheat and rice. It's only of late we have started talking in terms of horticulture crops, in terms of millets and other traditional crops. Previously, we used to call them orphan crops. It's now that we have started talking of them. And we talked of MSP, etc. there. What has been the growth in the agriculture sector over the last 3 or 4 decades? 2%. Sometimes it is 2.5, 2, never beyond 3. But look at the livestock sector. Dairy has been consistently growing between 6 to 8%. Aquaculture has been growing to 8 to 10%. Poultry is right now growing at 12 to 13%. Meat production is growing at 24 to 25%. Livestock sector has grown beyond livelihoods and is creating entrepreneurs, which the traditional agriculture did not. Why? Because traditional agriculture, we give them the crutches of MSP and all other things. Do you know something? Milk is the only agricultural commodity which withstands the upheavals of the market. You will get onion at 5 rupees a kg, you will get onion at 200 rupees a kg. You will find times when farmers with their tractor trolleys full of onions or tomatoes are standing by the roadside that somebody should buy it for 4 rupees or 5 rupees kg. But you'll also find time when onion and tomatoes will not be available unless you're a very rich man. But milk, you will find whether it is a lean season or a flush season, the difference would not be more than between 2 to 5% in the consumer price. Secondly, we have such vast network of milk collection through organized cooperatives that the milk which is collected by organized cooperatives like Amul or your Telangana state, whatever is the brand here, or Nandini of Karnataka, milk that Mother Dairy in Delhi, Vita, Verka, all these cooperatives, between 65% to the 70% of what consumer pays goes to the farmer. This is better than MSP. If you are paying 60 rupees a liter, and out of that 60 rupees you are paying, 35 to 40 rupees goes to the farmer. What more could farmer get? You tell one single commodity wherein farmer gets more than 25 to 30% of what the consumer pays. You will not find a single agriculture commodity. That's why you are visiting in Hyderabad. Now it is Telangana, but when it was erstwhile part of Andhra, the fish bowl of the country. We are the biggest exporter of shrimp in the world. Not a single penny subsidy. MSP and subsidy would kill the sector because this sector has generated entrepreneurs. It is farmers have become entrepreneurs, farmers have become businessmen, and they're doing far more on commercial principles. So what this sector is lacking is not MSP, or what this sector is lacking is not subsidies. Because if it was being given administrative subsidies which are given to crop husbandry and traditional crops, probably this sector will not. What this sector is lacking is intervention, investment in terms of appropriate policies and ecosystem. That's what I meant, not merely money. Namaskar.
1976 policy, one veterinarian behind 1,000 unit of vehicles.
Recommendation, not policy. It was a recommendation.
So like Indian flag in
Yeah.
picture, and then they said that 1,000 animal one veterinary. I'm not sure. This is a bit confusing.
1,000 animal unit.
Unit.
Yes.
Okay.
See, that's the difference I just explained to you.
Yeah.
In terms of the human health system, one doctor, 1,000 population, 1,000 persons. Here it says one person, 1,000 animal units. There is a different word unit. If it was says one person, 1,000 animals, fair enough. It is one doctor, 1,000 animal units. Now it goes on to define unit. Unit is one cattle or one buffalo comprises one unit. 5 pigs, 1 unit. 10 goats or sheep, 1 unit. So that means 1 lakh goats would require 1 doctor. 50,000 pigs would require 1 doctor. And 1,000 cows will require 1 doctor. No mention of poultry, no mention of dogs, no mention of camels, mules, or any other animal. And this is based on the 1976 recommendation of the National Commission on Agriculture. That time, agriculture was not different. Livestock has always been a small adjunct to the agriculture. जैसे हाथी की पूंछ नहीं होती, इधर बस एनिमल लाइवस्टॉक सेक्टर को हाथी की पूंछ का ही दर्जा मिला हुआ था. हाथी आगे निकल जाता था, पूंछ रह जाती.
That is the reason IV scheme 1984 Act and then establishment of Veterinary Council of India. It was rectified.
See, Veterinary Council of India is only a regulatory body which is regulating the veterinary profession. Veterinary Council of India Act or Veterinary Council which is constituted is not a body for the development of animal husbandry sector or the veterinary sector. It only regulates the veterinary profession in terms of recognition to the degrees, what kind of course would it be, registration of the medical professional, registration of the paravet. So there is a distinction between. When it comes to policy, how many veterinary doctors should we have? That is for the policy makers and the government of the day to decide. This issue has not been given thought to what I said. Including myself, it is I would not have known till I asked this question. When we asked this question, we came to this 1976 recommendation of the National Commission on Agriculture.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
It means one for me. So this is so serious. I also. When it comes to I'm sure.
These are very a bigger way, and that's the said that exactly a question is well,
Thanks. Thank you. I'll just, I think just add on to and what our friend from there had also asked. You see, these issues are not non-availability of resource in terms of intellect or the knowledge or the scientific community. As I said, that scientific community in this country is probably better than the best in the world. Issue is the way we have structured our governance systems. Now, you see, in the year 2019, we created a separate Department of Fisheries. And within 2 or 3 months, we created a separate Ministry of Fisheries, Animal Husbandry and Dairy. Now, once we created this, we should have then really focused into reinventing the mandate of this newly created ministry. Now, you'll be surprised to know that ever since this new Ministry of Fisheries has been created and separated from the erstwhile Ministry of Agriculture, the grant and the investment of ICAR institutes dealing with animal husbandry, dairying, and fisheries has drastically gone down. It has become close to zero. Except for salaries, there is no research work, no development work going on. Any of the ICAR institutes related to dairy, etc. They said now you are separate. Thereafter, one of my last acts as secretary of this new ministry was just 2 or 3 days before retirement, I had prepared a detailed paper and given the structure of now creating an Indian Council for Veterinary and Fisheries Research, which should be now with the part of this ministry to support this ministry in everything. PMO was very happy, everything, but somehow, I don't know, something must have happened and it got scattered. I gave you the example of that conference and workshop on One Health organized by DBT, but Ministry of Health does not participate. Now, these are the issues, probably it will be perplexing scientists like you much more than it would me having seen this system. This is nothing but individual and institutional egos which are preventing these kind of investments. You are doing some work, now probably the Ministry of Fisheries, Animal Husbandry won't be engaging with you. This is Department of Biotechnology. So you would not be giving input to them. What is the point of giving input to them? They are not going to do anything about it. So it's basically we've all small different republics, the Republic of Biotechnology, Republic of Animal Husbandry, etc., and not coming on one platform. One Health is a very, very far-reaching concept. Let's first have one government and one approach to these issues. We have, you see, there is this huge iconic building in Hyderabad called Fish Building. You all must be crossing through it, and it's and at night this building looks beautiful. And when Dr. Ayappan and myself, Dr. Ayappan was Deputy Director of Fisheries in ICR, later became your DG. We conceptualized this building, we constructed this building. We used to take great pride in the fact that here we have created an iconic building for an iconic institute. But well, this building looks beautiful from outside and night shines and nice to click pictures. But please don't enter the building. It's such a waste of national resources. Nothing is happening inside the building. See, again, the system is we are very good builders of hardware. When it comes to software, we totally neglect it. No wonder all our computer software scientists have gone to the Silicon Valley and they are shining there. So basically, this is the inadequacy or the infirmity in the governance structures and institutions. That's all. Thank you so much.
So, I request the right now the chief person.